1942. Out of the bigotry-based bowels of the Jim Crow South, I emerged as a monument, a conduit through which young black men were recruited into the most prestigious branch of military practitioners ever assembled on God's green earth. I birthed the first African-American Marine into the Marine Corps that openly didn't condone them. Even after President Franklin Delano Roosevelt signed Executive Order 8802, which stated that the day of the defense industries denying entry solely based on race, creed, or color are no longer, the Secretary of the Navy and Commandant said, blacks are trying to break into a club that simply doesn't want them. And if we were questioned on having a Marine Corps of 5,000 whites and 250,000 Negroes, I'd rather have the whites, said Major General Thomas Holcomb. But since the order was signed by a president, they had to take them. But to appease Southern congressmen, the order stated that it was okay to segregate them. So they didn't have to train the black recruits with the white recruits on Paris Island. So that's why they created me. I am Monfort Point, Camp Lejeune, Jacksonville, North Carolina. I trained young black men in a city where the color of their skin denied them entry into the city after 5 p.m., where their pigmentation bred limitations amongst the very people that came down here to be trained to protect, and may very well have to give their lives to defend. A city where black men were treated as boys and pushed to the backs of trains and denied entry into establishments unless they utilized back doors. But I afforded them no pity nor remorse. And if they wanted to be a part of my beloved Corps, they would have to undergo the same rigorous training that their white counterparts had to endure. But unlike their white counterparts, I'd ensure that if I had to train them, no matter where they came from, to demand that every Negro who wanted to be in my Marine Corps had to have either completed his high school courses or have been educated in college. And after they met this prerequisite, they would be met with the toughest seasoned veteran drill instructors from the battles of the Guadalcanal and Solomon Islands. Drill instructors with the mentality to challenge Roosevelt's actions, because they did not believe that Negroes were tough enough to be Marines. But yet and still, in August 1942, I received my first recruits while I was still under construction. So I had no barracks for them, just mosquito-infested temporary hut-like structures. So at night, they lived under substandard facilities. And during the day, they were greeted by an all-white staff and a host of drill instructors that was deeply rooted in racial beliefs. So in 1943, that's when I became aware of the need to have black drill instructors to train the black Marines. But by no means would a black man be in the position to give orders to a white Marine. But as funny as it seems, the treatment of the recruits began to worsen, and the rigor of the training began to increase, because the black drill instructors were more determined to make the black recruits succeed in becoming Marines. But the recruits were equally determined, so they weren't discouraged by their treatment. So they let their hardships build cohesion. I put them through trials and tribulations, but they would let nothing stop them. They just adapted and overcame and proclaimed that failure is not an option. I trained 20,000 black men, and in each one this was adopted. I watched as naysayers turn into believers as black Marines fought amongst them. They were there when the flag was raised on Iwo Jima, carrying the bloody bodies of the wounded and the fallen. They served as support units in the Pacific Theater and went to war in Okinawa. They went to combat in the Korean War and fought in Vietnam. But President Truman ended segregation in 48. And in 49, I trained Marines no longer. In 74, I was renamed in the honor of Sergeant Major Mark Johnson. My name changed, but I remain. I shall never be forgotten. Because anytime you see a black Marine in my beloved Corps, know that they are descendants of my legacy. For I am Montfort Point.
What's the name of your company anyway?
Mopic.
Mopic? Mopic?
Mopic.
Mopic?
Mopic.
Mopic Studio.